there are some authors who try to explain it, but it's very interesting. The Catholics claim that the Buddhists copied this image from Mary worship. But this is not easy to prove because Mary worship started quite late. So it's hard to say who influenced whom. But even one thing you should not worry, even if the Catholics are able to prove and say, oh, the Buddhist artists copied the image of Mary and maybe into Guanyin, it makes no difference. You find the people who worship Guanyin, together it is Guanyin. You can say what you like. Right? So it doesn't matter who copied whom. The important thing is how you look at this skillful image, this image. Okay? So, I can explain why the mother image or the family image of Guanyin, which is very popular in China. If you look at Chinese culture, especially in the times when Guanyin image, the idea of Guanyin came to China, you can understand. What is the main social background at that time? Confucianism. Confucianism is the most powerful ideology. And Confucianism is very masculine-based. Ruler-centered, man-centered, family-centered. In the family, the father is the most important thing, the male is the most important person. In fact, women don't have very much role. The women's role is to serve the man, cook good food, in the kitchen, right? So basically, women were marginalized in the kind of society. If you are a woman, you either give pleasure to men or make babies for them, that's all. So some of these women are not very happy. Right? And the worst thing is they're married, you can produce babies, you know. You're in trouble. And the husband will get another wife. Or if you have babies and you got girls, oh, get another problem. You know, so these women are not very happy. So some of them just do not want to get married at all. It's very difficult for them. Then they're going to get into trouble because when they die, nobody is going to take care of them. So this is some of the worries that women have. And someone has written a very detailed paper on this. So they form sororities, sisterhoods under Guanyin. And this is very popular in Hong Kong and so on, kind of where Buddhism exists. They stay together, they live together, and they all are Guanyin worshippers. And that way, they pick each other as sisters, and if they should grow old or die, there's always someone to take care of them. So Guanyin gave them hope in this sense to the women, so that they could live together in their own way, as devotees, and they are vegetarian ladies and so on. So they became very famous. Of course, today you see all this, you still see this Chaitan and all this, what you call vegetarian centers, temples, worshiping Guanyin. So you can imagine, Guanyin, in other words, gave hope to the women of China. It's one reason why Guanyin is Guanyin is very popular, very effective, very powerful. And of course, after that, there are many stories about how the princess sacrificed herself and so on. So all these stories are based on ancient Buddhist stories, and they became Chinese. The Chinese is very good in making things Chinese. So our Buddhist scholar became Chinese, became a woman. Compassion is the mother's quality, and so on. So in that sense, Guanyin is a liberator of women in China. Okay? So if you want to read more about this, there is the reference here, I've written something here. Okay, how Buddhism became Chinese. SD 40B.1, this is section 1.3.21. You go to dhamma.org, these books are available there. Yeah? Okay, another story. Many of you know I love books. I have a huge collection of books. In fact, I didn't bring all my books to Singapore because if I did, you easily fill up this whole hall. Food. I mean food. You know? So it's impossible to bring all. Thankfully, everything now is in digital form. Even the whole Tripitaka is in digital form, very convenient. So I often, whenever I come to Singapore, I go to the bookshops. So once I went to one of the Buddhist bookshops in town, and I was looking through all the books one by one. I already had a big stack, about this high of books on the desk, the counter, payment counter. And I was looking at the books. And I was looking at the books, I saw one white figure passing by. It didn't catch my attention any more than that. And we went on looking. And finally, I thought enough goes, I came back to the counter and then put the last one there. And I told the clerk, I said, okay, how much all this book? Then the lady said, oh no need, everything paid for already. I said, what do you mean? So you know the white lady dressed in white came in and said, who are you? I said, ask about you. And then she said, oh, it's Piya Tan. I said, okay, so she paid for everything. No need to pay. This one I wish would happen again, really nice. I don't know who this person is. Just come in, and went off like that. Alright? So, I like to imagine she is Guanyin. Of course, somebody may say, oh, you think you're a great guy, Guanyin come to help you. No, about me, Guanyin doesn't come to me. Okay, let me put it this way. This is one way of talking. Huh? What I mean is, I don't know whether this is physically Guanyin or not. And that's not important. Imagine, now switch roles, okay? Let's say you are that woman dressed in white, right? And you're passing by, and you say, oh, there's a monk getting books. I think I'd like to make dhamma. Now, if you think like that, you say, okay, I'd like to make dhamma, I'd like to be charitable. You come in, you didn't even announce yourself, you don't even leave your card, you say, after that, please give me a receipt. No need. You just go there, you practice your dhamma, your charity, and then you go off. Wow. That's a Guanyin mind, Guanyin heart. Now you look from the other side. Okay? So you, in other words, to me, the mind that is so generous is a Guanyin mind. And this happens to us any time. And these are stories not in the list here, it just came to my mind. There was once, I was standing at the roadside. This time I was a layman, you know, I've got to collect some magazines and books to sell. I have a small bookshop at that time. There was this lady standing beside me, very busy road, you know, in the KL. And this lady looked like half dazed like that. I said, oh dear, what's going on with her? And this traffic was zooming very near, you know. And she just, like half dazed, ready to step into the traffic. You know, if she did that, I tell you, zoom, she'd be gone. And all that I could do immediately, I saw doing that, I caught her by the back of her neck. I pulled her back, I said, hey, what are you doing? You know, I can tell you, even now when I look back, I can't say it's a conscious action. It's just that you know this person is going to do a very dangerous thing, so your hand just reach out and then you pull her back, you know. And she was okay. So sometimes these things are very hard to explain. It just happens split second like that. This is your hand of compassion or heart of compassion, if you like. Of course, if you say, you just say, so it's not my business, you know, and the Zoom is dead. You know, it's terrible. Right? So all these things can happen to us naturally also. So let it happen. Okay? And be happy. And then you have Guanyin and the dragon. Okay, this is again very Chinese, right? And this is the most friendly dragon I can find. So I thought this picture, some dragons are very fierce, you know. And first of all, the dragon is a very interesting Chinese mythical figure. Why a dragon? First of all, what is a dragon? You look at the dragon, the first thing you notice are the horns. What kind of horn is it? Deer horn. Deer. And then the mouth is like a lion. And then you have the scales, like a snake. And then the talons, the claws, like an eagle. The body is like a serpent. And so on. So, and then the tail, what's the tail like? Fish. So in other words, this dragon represents a composition of some of the most amazing, important animals that the Chinese knew. They put it all together into this dragon figure. This is nothing new actually, because dragon naga in Pali and Sanskrit is a very old story, old idea found even in India. Naga simply means serpent. One meaning. Another meaning, it means a noble elephant, the leading elephant is called Naga. Another meaning is the Naga, very powerful spirit figure, on which this dragon is based. And this dragon in India lives underground, underwater, underground. And for example, there's a story about our Buddha, Sakyamuni. He tortured himself, he almost died. So he realized that you must not torture your body, you must just cut your body. And he realized he must take some food. And he decided to accept some offering of food from a lady called Sujata. So he ate the food. And by the way, that food is nasi lemak. Real nasi lemak, not the local one. Boiled with really good milk from cow's milk. Very fragrant. Why am I saying this? Because next time you eat nasi lemak, I want you to remember the Buddha. So you can escape from the dhamma. Everything out there, there's something about the dhamma. You eat nasi lemak, oh yeah, Sujata offered this to the Buddha, to the Bodhisattva, last meal. So everything is meaningful, So if you're happy, you go there, you buy nasi lemak, you're happy, smiling. Oh no, how come you're so happy? I'm a Buddhist. You say that, right? So this is your way of spreading Buddhism. Okay? And where do you come from? Follow this way. Okay? That's how you spread Buddhism. Okay? The Dhamma is very much. So after the Buddha has eaten his rice, the story went, it says that he decided to make a vow, whether he will succeed as becoming enlightened or not. So he went to the river, and this is a metal bowl, right? Actually, it's the golden bowl, the story went. So he put the bowl on the river. It's probably curved in such a way it can float. Okay? So he made what's called a sacca kiriya, act of truth. If by my own goodness I can attain awakening this day, this bowl will float against the stream. Okay, so this is his vow. I don't recommend anyone does this because it probably won't work, unless you really very strong vow. Because the meaning of this story is more important. Against the current. The Buddha's teaching is said to be against the current. The world says, oh, enjoy life. But Buddha said, no, restrain. Be happy with yourself. Right? So sometimes some of the teaching you find is opposite to the world. Right? Because if the teaching is not opposite to the world, Buddhism can't help us. Right? When you come for meditation, if you're doing just the opposite of what the world does, you relax, you let go of thoughts. Right? That means against the stream. So this meaning is very important. So you put into a story. Story is a way of presenting Buddhism. Art is another way of presenting Buddhism. Against the stream. So the story went, the boat actually went upstream. Now I don't find this impossible to believe. Right? It's quite easy to explain actually. So if you look at the river, sometimes the water will move and then it's called eddies, it will go back, and then it goes up. And there are some rivers that flow backwards, I was told in Africa or somewhere, because of the force of the water coming down and then went up a certain height and then it seems to flow backwards. Very strange, So anyway, in this story, the bowl went upstream and then it went to the water, it sank, it went back and forth and then it reached the realm of the Nagas. So in India, the Nagas lived deep underground. They were subterranean beings. And there were 3 other bowls there. I remember as a young guy, I read this story, I was so fascinated by it. I even remember the sound that the bowl made. The story said the bowl made was kiri, 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 and then it went down to the bottom. It settled at the bottom. Why 3 bowls? You know what the 3 bowls represent? Yeah, the 3 bowls of the 3 previous Buddhas. Okay? Before our Buddha is the Buddha Kashyapa. Before that, the Buddha Konagamana, and then Kanakamani. 3 Ks, very easy to remember. Okay? And then our Buddha, next after Bhattacharya. So, that's the story. The Naga live deep underground. But in China, the Naga usually is seen in the sky. My mother liked to tell when I was a kid. So when it's raining, I said, hey, if you look carefully, you might see a dragon guy. I thought I see a rainbow or something. And I really thought I was looking like there's no dragon. So they usually associate the Naga with the sky. So wind element. But still is a mythical being, a being that represents many wonderful qualities. And Guanyin stands on the top of this wonderful creature. What does that mean? It means Guanyin has the ability to control worldly things. Compassion is one way to overcome worldliness. She can take charge of the wildness in life. Under normal circumstances, this dragon will be very fierce and wild. But I also remember I used to reflect when I was young. I said, I don't think I can become Guanyin. You know how difficult it is to stand without a dragon? What if I fall? So you've got to really be focused. It also represents focused mind. You focus, and it also represents someone of great spiritual quality. Okay? You can't just stand on the top of a dragon like that. Right? Here you see Guanyin and dragon is in the ocean. Right? Okay, here's a funny story I can tell you. Again, I was a monk, okay? And I have a small center in Mansara at that time. And one afternoon I just went across the road to get something, to go to the post office. And then I had to cross this very big highway. Not this big highway, these roads. There are 4 lanes. So when I finished my business, came out, heavy rain came down, and I couldn't get back to my center. This is within walking distance. It's like from here to Coronation Plaza, but heavy rain. So I said, oh dear, what do we do? Well, those days I did a lot of Guanyin chants. So Guanyin, you stop the rain. You know, fervently prayed. But the more I prayed, the heavier the rain. So I didn't, no faith asleep. And I said, well, I just wait, okay, just stand there and wait, you know. Of course, I did not say anything. I said, maybe better just keep quiet for a while. And then a car came along, stopped in front of me. I was standing at the 5-foot lane. The person went down the, what do you call window, and said, Honorable, are you going anywhere? I said, yeah, I want to go back to my temple. I said, yeah, why don't you hop in, I can take you there. So I was sitting in the car. I said, this is interesting, I prayed for Guanyin to stop the rain. Guanyin didn't stop the rain. But here I am, away from the rain, and I'm back in the way, no rain, in the center, Then I reflected, I said, I did a very stupid prayer, actually, very selfish prayer. So this is where you got to be careful what you ask for. He said, Guanyin, please stop the rain. I just for one person to cross the road. So here it means Guanyin doesn't answer all your wishes, because if your prayers are all answered, you end up like that movie, the Jim Carrey movie, the God movie, the world goes crazy. Because what kind of things we pray for? Some of these things are very crazy and selfish, isn't it? Right? Actually what I want is to get across dry. And that wish was granted. So that's why you see Guanyin got wisdom as well as compassion as well as wisdom. So remember, sometimes we're in great difficulty. We don't know what to do. We just do our prayer. A lot of my friends tell me whenever they travel, they go to the Guanyin temple, Waterloo Street, right? And Dr. Tan is very happy when people go there for donations. So people go there, they say, oh, help me this, help me that. So you have a big problems. You find that if you relate to Guanyin, these problems get solved, yes. But always be prepared for surprises. Sometimes the problems seem to get worse, And suddenly, something happens. And you find the solution actually is better than what you wish for. So this is something you must be prepared for. Compassion is a wonderful way of helping us. This is another way of talking about good karma. You just let the good karma ripen. And you get greater blessings than you actually drew for. So don't be too exacting in your wishes and prayers. That's why we say in all beings we are happy. Because some people say, how can all beings? Well, all beings are in my mind, my heart. I want to clear away all these negative thoughts. So wherever I go, I try to be radiant to people. So that people can feel they feel peaceful in themselves. Right? So that's the meaning. Yeah? So we will reflect on this deep meaning of Guanyin in practice. Okay, now the technical point. Avalokite swara or avalokite swara, two forms. How do we get the Chinese word Guanyin? Okay, so you have the Chinese character, the simplified version, and the traditional version, Guanyin, okay? You translate it as the Bodhisattva who regards sun. Guan is regard, and Yin is sun. Or the Bodhisattva who heeds calls. In other words, he will respond to you. He or she will respond to you. Oh yeah, this is another thing. Let's go back a bit. Look at this picture. Male or female? This is one thing I told you, mother figure, right? Is compassion male or female? Can't answer, right? Not meaningful to answer. We're not talking about human being, remember again. Right? This is an artist's representation of compassion. In fact, Guanyin is neither male nor female because he or she is compassionate. I mean, you can choose to see as a female figure if you like, no harm. But you must remember the meaning behind it. That's the meaning. Compassion is neither male nor female. Women identify with Guanyin definitely as a woman. That's fine too. Men identifying Guanyin as a man. That's fine too. That's compassion. Okay? Oops. Alright, so this is the Chinese word Guanyin. Which word does it come from? Let's see it now. Now, apparently it seems the older name is Avalokita Swara. Avalokita is what's called past participle. It can be a noun and adjective. It comes from the verb avaloketi. Now you see a star there, it means the dictionary doesn't have such a word, but it makes sense. The more common word is the next one, avalokayati, which is Sanskrit, by the way. Ava means downwards. Downwards, rather than down. Because sometimes we say, what is a God who looks down? It gives a wrong impression in English. Looks down like, look down people, not at all. Look down from above. Okay? Remember the four Brahma Viharas. Number one is loving kindness. Loving kindness is sent to all beings all around. Second quality is compassion. Compassion is you are okay, and then you see the world suffering, you try to help them. From above, you look down. That's Guanyin. From a vantage point. Okay? That's why you often see Guanyin, dragon, sky, some kind of high level. So you can see them very clearly, which beings who they come. Now this Kumarajiva, one of the most famous translators in China, also used the word loka. Loka means world. So this is how you get the word looks down upon the world. Okay? So these are how the words are interpreted. The Bodhisattva who heeds the cries, swara, voice, yin, okay? Swara. And the word sara in Pali means vowels. Vowels give sound to language. He looks down upon the world and he listens to the swara, in Malay swara, his voice, cries of the world. So this one is the ancient meaning, the earlier meaning. Now how did we get the later meaning? The later meaning is avalokite swara. So here if you split up, in other words, you resolve the compound, we got avalokita, the one who looks down from above, Iswara. So here Iswara means Lord, even God. Now this one is a later spelling. Apparently this spelling came at a time when again Siva worship was popular. So the Buddhists, wanting to influence the Indians, changed the spelling a bit so that the Indians could connect with this idea. Okay? So Iswara. But strangely this was the spelling, this is the idea. Not mistaken, that Xuan Chang actually promoted. Right? But anyway, the Chinese somehow are stuck with the Avalokita Swara. So Now we come to another very famous teaching with Guanyin worshippers. That's the 6-syllable mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum. Or in Tibetan we say Om Mani Padme Hum. Now, the Tibetans couldn't pronounce Padme. The auto stops are difficult for them, so they like to have open vowels, so campaign. So that's the Tibetan style of chanting. So here we can say around just different style. Even for example, among the Burmese, they can't pronounce Gachami, they say Gazami. It sounds very nice actually. See, so you have, in Singapore, you can hear today Sunday, right? So you go to Thai temple, Buddham Saranam Gacchami. You go to Buddhist temple, Buddham Saranam Gacchami. You go to Siddhist temple, Buddham Saranam Gacchami. You come here, Singapore style. Now you must have Singapore style, it's a Singapore temple, sooner or later. Because if you have a Singapore style, then you feel very comfortable in your chant. Okay? You don't have to follow Thai or Burmese or Singapore, lecture about Singapore style. So here, Om Mani Padme Hum is the Buddhist answer to the very popular Siva mantra, Om Namaha Shivaya. You know, sometimes in the car, you see with the backside, I saw one in the Indian car, actually Buddhist mantra. By the way, the word Siva means happy. It is also an adjective used by the Buddha long before Siva worship came into being, as an adjective for nirvana. So, it's okay for Buddhists, you go to a temple, or your Indian friend or American, you put your palms together and bow down and say, yes, I'm about to Siva, because to me Siva is the name for nirvana. Right? Again, the dhamma is there. So you can see in the Buddhist teachings, it's very universal. So how do we practice this Om Mani mantra in connection with Guanyin? It has to do with loving kindness. Om Mani Padme Hum, 6 syllables. So this is the simple way to reflect Om. You visualize the Deva world. Okay? Deva world. So may all the beings there be well and happy. May they realize the Dharma of impermanence. And then the Asuras. Asuras are fierce demons. Right? They were once gods, but then they did not keep the precepts well, so they fell from the heavens. And then may they be well and happy, may they be filled with compassion. Asuras are the fierce people in our lives, people who exploit others, people who are not friendly. So may they be well and happy. May they be at peace with themselves. And then Ni are the human beings. May humans be well and happy. May they be at peace with themselves, wherever they are. And Pad, animals. May animals be well and happy. Right? You know, all of us have pets, you know? Right? So our pets are very friendly to us. I mean, the Buddhists are the best pet lovers ever. And then may are the pretas, the departed beings. They're everywhere. May they be well and happy. And then home, hell beings, suffering beings, may they too be well and happy. May they overcome their sufferings. And then there is a 7th mantra, Krihi, that's for yourself. May I be well and happy. Okay? And now I'll tell you a very fantastic story, which I've not told for a long time, very powerful story, where a life was saved because I invoked Guanyin. That's my understanding. This was many years ago. I was still a monk, and I loved going to the forest for retreats, meditation. So a group of medical students from NUS asked me to conduct such a retreat for them. So we went to Taman Negara, that is national park in Malaysia, Pahang. We spent a few days there, very nice place. These all Singaporean city people, stayed in the forest. And there was, you know, there you have to be very careful. When you go there, we go in the dry season. The rainy season is very dangerous. Dry season, the rivers dry up, and you can just walk across the river quite easily. But you have to be very careful. If you hear distant thunders, you better get out of the river right away. Especially if you squat there looking at the sand and your back is to the source, back to the mountains. And there are cases where this water will just swoop down from the top and just drown the people. So be very careful. The moment you hear thunder, you've got to get out of the dry river. Anyway, that day, probably the previous day, there was some rain. So although the river was quite dry, there's a channel of water. And water can be very powerful when it flows. So I told this students, young student, I said, okay, I can get, two of you there's a tree trunk over there, get a trunk, put it across, so that we can walk across. There were girls there also in the camp. So there were 4 or 5 of them, they dragged this huge old dead trunk across to put the river on the channel. But somehow the current was very strong and the whole trunk got dragged away along with the 5 boys. So everything was moving very fast and went down to the big river further down. And then the trunk was rolling like that. And 4 of the boys, 2 swam that bank and 2 more this bank. That's the 5th one. We couldn't find the 5th one. And before that, I told them, I said, all of you must know how to swim. For your God, they said, yes, I know how to swim. So these 2 went the other side, 2 came, but the 5th one was still there. I told myself, oh no, this is terrible. So at that point, I just said, okay, Guanyin said, there is this boy in real danger. He's a medical student, and it's a terrible thing if he dies. It's a waste of him. And also, I don't know how I'm going to teach dhamma after this. There is a bad mark on my own life. So this boy must be saved. So this boy, the 2 boys jumped in again. One from them, one from them, jumped in again, look for him. And then after that, we could see him, we saw this tree trunk rolling, he came up, went down, came up, went down. So they managed to drag him up. He said, thank goodness, okay? So he was saved. Now what he said was amazing. When he, was saved and then I talked to him and said, I said, what happened to you? I said, can you swim? I asked. He said, no, I can't swim. I said, why did you go? Why did you go? When I said, only those who can swim should go. He said, it's not fair. All the 4 boys. So I thought I could help them. I said, okay, never mind. Anyway, the point is you're safe. I said, what happened to you? He said, when I was going down in the water, I felt so peaceful. I don't feel like coming up again. He must be having some family issues, which I didn't ask him about, some difficulties. He said, I feel so happy, I don't want to let go, I don't want to come up again. I see all my problems are solved. And then he said, he saw the figure of Guanyin from above. He saw a figure of Guanyin dragging him up. Now, I didn't tell any of them I was invoking Guanyin. I was in Theravada. So, I think I didn't tell any of them even until after the event. So I told myself, I don't know how to explain this. Here I am invoking Guanyin, and there's the boy, he also saw Guanyin. And this story is very difficult to explain. Maybe there's connection, maybe there's a coincidence, but I'm happy it happened that way. It doesn't, some of these things you can't explain, but you're happy it happened that way. This is a story of faith. So what I'm saying, in moments of difficulty, right, just do what you think you're comfortable with, in all goodness, and some of the problems will be solved, provided the karma of all these people are right. So many good conditions are there. Okay? And so we come to the last slide. Here you see a beautiful picture of Guanyin with a crane and a few monkeys on the other side. Okay? Here you see Guanyin meditating. Sometimes you see Guanyin represented in the perfection of wisdom philosophy. Heart Sutra, Guanyin was reflecting on wisdom. Guanyin to me represents deep meditation, joyful meditation. If you really want to experience Guanyin, you have to have karma. You do your loving kindness. And if you can cultivate the loving kindness, Guanyin is in you. Guanyin is another word for loving kindness, compassion. So do not just take Guanyin as some magical figure out there. Guanyin is inside you, wherever you go. And if you have that kind of understanding, this loving kindness is lies inside you, you tell yourself, I should not do this, this is not right, Guanyin, you don't do this. Or I should do this because this is right, this is compassion. So this is the real teaching of Guanyin, to make us better people, happier people, compassionate people. This is right at the heart of Buddhism, in every sense of the word. So I end my talk here. If you have any questions, you have about 8 more minutes. You know, about 1 minute now? About 13, 18 minutes. Okay, yes?
Sure. Do the 6 minutes have its origin from Hindu mythology?
Okay, first thing is the word Hindu doesn't exist in the Buddha's time. Hindu is not even an Indian word. It comes from Sindhu, the Sind from the eastern part of India. It is a name used by the Persians and by the Chinese. The Indians call themselves Bharata. Yeah, and Hindu is a later term. Okay? So after Gupta period, Buddha's time there was no word Hindu, Brahmanism. Okay? In the suttas, the Buddha only talked about 5 ranks. Okay? In other words, the Asura is missing. The Asura is included in the Deva world. Okay? Then later, they added the Indians later added the 6th rank. And yes, I would say in details, the Buddha accepted the beliefs of the people at that time because he has to communicate with them. So he used those ranks. But whether he actually accepted them as really existing or not is hard to say. Because he used all these stories, but he will always superimpose it with practice, with meditation. So he will say, for example, okay, you have all these wonderful worlds, 31 planes. You can be reborn there, yes, but they're impermanent. You go up and down like snakes and ladders. Snake and ladder is a very Buddhist game. You go up and suddenly it's there, and go down again. So up, down. So, but he says, if you meditate, if you have peace of mind, and you're a stream winner or your higher state, you go to the heaven world, you won't fall down again. So in other words, you need to remain there. Otherwise you go up and down like ping pong, right? So the Buddha, in other words, is telling us, you can be happy wherever you are, even without going to heaven. You can be happy right here. Heaven and hell are all here right now. Remember the story of the warrior? Right? How many of you have heard the story of the warrior about heaven and hell? So you have heard, I won't tell you. How many of you not heard? Oh, okay, good. Okay, let me tell you this many told tale. So there was this man wanted to know where heaven and hell are. This man is a warrior. So he started, no more war, so very happy, very peaceful, he started thinking about religion. So he went to see this monk, meditating monk. He asked the monk, can you tell me where is heaven, where is hell? And the monk was meditating. So he looked at this warrior, it's scruffy and crude, and he says, why does a person like you want to know about such things? Do you think I understand if I tell you? This warrior was very angry. Because you better tell me, I'm going to kill you. So this monk, very wise, what did he do? He got up and ran. He ran as fast as he could, the warrior chasing him. Ran. After that, he stopped. He turned around and said, stop. So the warrior, of course, suddenly stopped. He said, why? He said, this is hell. You're going to kill me. This is hell. Then the warrior said, okay. Quite true. Then he said, put down his sword. Okay, where is heaven? And then the monk said, this is heaven, you're not going to kill me. The warrior said, the warrior think about it, the monk quickly disappeared. Okay. So anyway, this is a beautiful story telling us it's in our state of mind. Right now, this is heaven, right here. Okay, so a few minutes more, you go back to the world. So enjoy it while you can, and then come back again. But whenever you do your loving kindness practice, you are in heaven. Okay? So that meaning is more important to us. Any other question?
Just like you were saying, Guanyin is inside us, not outside us.
Yes. That means you got to take Guanyin as a meditation in your own heart. You visualize Guanyin as compassion. There are many forms. You choose your favorite one. That's why there are many forms. We select image that we can relate to. Okay? We want to, people like to identify what is your favorite pop singer, not Olympic star, right? But all these are permanent, Not Olympic records get beaten. The movie stars, pop stars grow up, grow old, right? But not Guanyin. Guanyin is always there. Yes?
Every time I listen to Guanyin song or I think of Guanyin, I will start to cry. I can't understand why.
Happy tears or sad tears?
Sometimes tears of joy, tears of sadness.
Okay. Alright, that's wonderful.
I mean, even now I feel.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand why.
Yeah. That's called the whiteboard here. It's called samvega. Samvega. In Pali, it's called samvega. Samvega is the kind of feeling that the Buddha felt, or rather the Bodhisattva felt before he left home. He saw the three signs: old man, sick man, dead man. Very powerful feeling. Imagine, as if you've never seen these people before. But even today, if you see all these old people, sick people, dead people, you have this powerful feeling inside. You say, why, right? But the Bodhisattva was very deep thinker. He says, wow, this is bad. People I love are going to suffer. So what's the meaning of life? That's called samvega. But a feeling of sadness, and yet there is a power there telling you must do something about it, right? And then there is another feeling called pasada. Pasada is this wonderful joy. You feel so good, so happy. Don't have to explain. And that one is when he saw the fourth sight, the happy holy man. So when we hear Guanyin, it probably is some past life connection with Guanyin devotees. Maybe as a child, you have connection with Guanyin. So when you hear it, it invokes you with this wonderful energy. And just be happy. You reflect on it, say, peaceful, peaceful. All these are impermanent. You reflect. Use that as a meditation. This reminds me of another short story. When I was teaching in Sarawak, this Catholic lady at the end of the talk came up to me quietly. Because she's Catholic, so they're not asked topic. She came quietly to me and said, I'm a practicing Catholic, I worship Virgin Mary. But my dreams are always dream of Guanyin. What do I do? I said, you're very lucky. I said, even I don't dream of Guanyin like you. I said, obviously you have some connection with Guanyin. Of course, we Buddhists, we don't sabotage people. So I told her, I said, so she said, what to do? I said, you will know what to do when the right time comes. You go on practicing. She's obviously compassionate. No, people don't have Guanyin dreams unless they're compassionate. So I said, you go on practicing. And when the time comes, you will know. And remember what I said, you will know. And in my mind, I said, you'll be a Buddhist. You will know. Because these things you don't need to tell people. They are by nature compassionate and kind, and they can see Guanyin. One day they look at all these people doing wrong worship, trying to bully the Buddhists, and this is wrong, and then they'll slowly turn to Buddhism. So you just be strong, tell them, you know what to do. Remember, do this, turn to the dhamma. You need to say dhamma, you will know. Okay, so this is one way of, little way of communicating with them.
This how you see the dragon, the scale represent what?
Scale, fish. Scales of the fish. Right?
But the tail also fish, right?
Sorry, scale is snake, I think. The tail is fish. Actually, scale can be many animals. You can look and you can study, there are lots of little figures here and there. So you're still doing your research, no? You hope you're not doing that. That's good. That's question. Any other question? Yeah, you look at art on book on Buddhist art, you will get some more information. I can't remember all the details.